Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order, April 2nd, Climate Action Committee. The guinea pig as the chair here, so feel free to hop in if you have any questions or comments or feel like I'm messing up too much. Feel free to hop in. Okay, so for me here, we have a packed agenda, so looking forward to it. We'll start off, go right into the minutes. We want to approve the February 6th minutes. I made some adjustments per Brad's comments about formatting. Did everyone get a chance to look at February 6th minutes from a while ago?
I looked at it, it's not important, but it's a question
Okay,
that says a total of 8 old condensers were replaced with 4 new 5-ton Fujitsu. And then it says it reduced the number of air handles from 8 to 5. So is it 4 or was it 5, or is there something I'm missing?
it was
The 8 to 5. 8 to 5 appears at the end of the paragraph when it's in words, not numbers.
Okay.
Um,
yeah, I'll take a look at
I
that.
don't know which is correct.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was during the section on water, right? Was it?
That was the HVAC system at Knox Trail.
Okay,
This was the minutes from last month,
That was February.
February.
which we already approved.
We had some edits to it, or no?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay, I don't know.
Okay, well,
I don't think we voted officially on approving that.
okay, well, it's a minor point, so I'm not worried.
I'll look it up. Yeah, so 18 edits were replaced with 4 new 5-ton. Yeah, I think that like 5-ton one, there's 4 new ones. This was from
So,
the director's update I included in there.
Yeah, there were 4
Okay,
new units.
okay,
then it should be okay. Are you okay with that?
yeah. It's a quibble, really.
Okay. And Brad, I'm not sure that did we approve these last time?
We did.
Okay, we did, already. Then never mind.
As amended.
Okay, perfect. So I amended it and it should be good to go. Who's the one that usually submits them? Is it you, Brad, or Eric?
It has been me, but I've been bad, I'm behind.
Okay.
At submitting them. Maybe we should get together and just submit them all, because there's a few missing ones.
I
Okay,
think it's the chair's role.
got it.
Just-
It's the clerk's role. No,
Which is sort of
you don't have to.
the clerk is TBD perpetually, so. Okay, that's fine. And Brad, you said you were okay doing minutes for this.
Yeah, I'm just.
Okay, and we're recording, so it should be okay. Okay, perfect. Moving on, we're gonna go to the March 5th minutes, which Karen did. Thank you very much, Karen. Anybody have any comments on them, or if we need more time to review, that's okay. I had something out in the agenda.
Did not see them, maybe because I was away a lot there.
I noticed that, well, just one misspelling of a name.
Please tell me it wasn't Jerry's.
What? Paul's name is hard to spell.
Oh, I missed that one.
Doesn't have.
The one I saw was Jane for Jan City.
Oh, okay, I didn't notice that. Okay. But
Okay, so
other
we
than
have
that, looked good to
a
me.
few minor ones.
I'll make those changes and send them the revised ones to you.
Okay. Do you think it's better if we do it, vote on it next meeting? We have some more
I think
time.
those are minor enough that we
Okay.
can just vote as amended.
Yeah, they were all good by me, so.
Unless any others want more time to read through them.
I'm good.
Okay.
There's
Okay,
a motion to approve.
yeah, is there a motion to approve?
So
Okay, great. Any seconds?
Sure.
Okay, Brian. Okay, let's have a vote on the minutes here. I guess we'll do a roll call vote because we have some members online as well. Okay, let's start in the room here. Jerry?
approve.
Okay, approved.
Abstain.
Okay, Brad?
Approved.
Okay,
Approved.
okay, perfect. Okay, I approve as well. Cheryl, if you have a chance, look at the minutes. Okay, approved. Mike? Okay, I see your hand there, good. Hey, Courtney? Okay. All right, looks like they passed. Perfect, okay, we're accepting the minutes, awesome. Okay, great. So the next meeting I have is May 7th, around 7 p.m. Going with the first Tuesday of the month. Does anybody have any problems with that? Nothing that looks like it's conflicts, unless people are still resting after Cinco de Mayo beforehand, and then it should be okay.
Can I ask who's the clerk for tonight? Who's taking minutes?
Yeah, Brad is taking minutes for
Oh, well
tonight.
done, Brad.
Wait a minute, I thought you said the seventh.
Excuse me, wait.
Yeah,
Okay, Cinco de Mayo's on the fifth, but.
yeah, yeah.
As long as you really
Yeah,
celebrate.
extra. All right, so yeah, Brad's on minutes for tonight. And I will still be the interim chair, I suppose the title is, for the following meeting in May. But I wanted to keep everyone posted that it would be great if someone else could fill in the role for the rest of the year, or fill in as an interim for a meeting or two. That would be great. If anyone feels strongly about it, right now you speak, but if not, just think about it. We'll bring it up at the next meeting as well. Okay, perfect. Moving on here, we have the director's update, Eric.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add other than what's in my written update, along with the agenda. I did just want to touch on one item in there, which referred to the police department's need to purchase, some new cruisers for the department. In recent years, they have purchased hybrid vehicles, the Ford Interceptor, hybrid vehicles, which are SUVs. And they've used those. Those are not currently available. Ford has stopped making those. They're on hiatus from offering those. They probably won't be available again until 2025, if production continues. So there's really not too many other options for them to go with. Chevrolet has come out with a full EV cruiser that's based on their Blazer model. Those are brand new this spring. Those are already sold out for this year. So there's a possibility of potentially looking at those vehicles moving forward. Although there's a little bit of concern about added costs because they cost more than the hybrids. And then the police department would also be needing to purchase new equipment for the different platform, Ford versus Chevy. The department had also expressed concern about the hybrids in terms of their reliability. They recently had one that completely died, and they've had others of their hybrids that they said have been in the dealership very frequently with issues and problems and not in service. So they were a little concerned about continuing to purchase those same hybrids anyway. Having said that, they have demonstrated their commitment and willingness to continue to purchase, hybrids and EVs as the market allows. But in this case, right now, they need to purchase 3 replacement cruisers, and it looks like the only option is to purchase gas vehicles. So in terms of our vehicle policy and fleet policy, it's a little bit of a step in the wrong direction. I should say that the cruisers are also currently exempt. The Green Communities vehicle requirements currently exempts cruisers. That's supposed to go through July of next year, at which time they will no longer be exempt. Although I think they've been getting some feedback because a lot of people use this Ford hybrid platform. And I think that they've been getting a lot of feedback about the reliability issues with those as well. Framingham recently had to purchase some gas cruisers instead of hybrids because of the lack of availability. And then because I reached out to a number of my colleagues in different towns asking, if they had any solutions or ideas for helping us out with this. And then I heard from Falmouth, where they actually sent me a letter that they had written to the Green Communities program, talking about their terrible experience with the hybrids and them breaking down constantly, one caught on fire. And so they completely abandoned that platform. So I think Green Communities here is enough, and I don't know, maybe they'll consider that in terms of this deadline for exemptions. Because right now, other than the Chevy Blazer model, there's really no other sort of SUV type cruiser models that are out there that are non-gas vehicles. So anyway, we'll continue to work on that, but, you know,
So there's the hybrids, the Chevy Blazer's a hybrid or is it?
it's a full EV.
Full EV? That's the only one.
Yeah, that's the only other cruiser-ready vehicle that's on the market, or the
Okay.
Ford Interceptor hybrids. I mean, the Ford, you can buy the gas
Yeah.
Ford
But the
cruisers.
ones that, the electric ones that are the Teslas that, were donated are not cruisers, those are.
They
Yeah.
use those in that capacity, but the feedback that I got from them, because I asked that question, is that they have challenges because so they have some Mustang Mach-E's. and two-
What?
Mustang, the Mach-E Mustang. I think they have two of those or maybe three, and then they also do have the Tesla. And they have, I think they have used those as cruisers. But they said that, you know, that's not really a platform that's easily adapted to cruisers. The cabin interior is small, so if they have larger police officers, they're cramped in the front, it's cramped for passengers in the back, and once they factor in all the equipment that they need in those vehicles, it's less than ideal for space and functionality for that. So they're not too keen on
Yeah.
using those as a standard cruiser platform. They really want, and say they need more of an SUV platform.
Yeah.
For the cruiser, so. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that, you know, I had a bunch of back and forth with the police department. Like I said, I reached out to my colleagues in a bunch of other towns to try to do a little diligence and research on that, and I was hearing a lot of the same information from other towns. So again, it's a little unfortunate that, you know, we've been using hybrids and now might have to purchase a few gas vehicles for this year. But we'll hope to continue to move in the direction of using more fuel efficient vehicles even for cruisers moving forward.
Or was that hybrid, was that plug-in hybrid or just like a gas plus battery hybrid?
I don't think I don't think they were plug-in hybrids, yeah.
How big is the police fleet?
That's a good question. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how many vehicles, so.
So I'd like to recommend from my perspective on the committee that in a climate emergency, they plan ahead and they get and let they go for the electric Chevys for next year. There's some risk, but there's a lot of risk, just burning gas.
Yeah, so I talked to them about that. I had sent them information on those models. I called the Chevy dealership and talked to their fleet representative about the availability of those and pricing on those. And their fleet rep was the one who told me that they're currently sold out for their current production for this year. And they may be opening up new orders later this year for next year.
Yeah.
So I let the police department know that, I think. But yeah, I think they would have to factor something like that in, like I said, into budgeting for, because I think they probably cost, I think maybe about $10,000 more per vehicle than the hybrids do. And then again, there's the cost of switching over platforms and all the equipment that you would need to do that as well. But that's not to say that they couldn't, you know,
Yeah.
purchase one or two and invest in that and test those out, so. You know, and they, like I said, they've continued to express, you know, their willingness to use fuel efficient vehicles. So I'll continue to work with them on that and see what we can do. And we also looped in the finance director on some of these conversations, just so that they're aware of, you know, budget considerations moving forward. So, and I wrote kind of a detailed memo on this that I sent to the town manager and the police chief. And so I'm happy to share that with the group if anybody's interested in seeing that at some point.
Yeah, like I wonder if they could just put off for a year buying any new ones, or if they have an immediate need.
Yeah, I asked them that too, and they said they can't wait. They're
Right.
yeah, they had, like, you know, they have a replacement plan where they typically replace a few vehicles each year based on age. And the 3 that they're replacing now are high in mileage, and ready to be swapped out. And they said they can't wait till 2025 to do that, so.
So they should plan ahead. Get the orders in early.
Yeah, so I'll continue to work with them on that and see if, hopefully the budget will allow. We'll work towards trying to make that happen. Anyway, yeah, I just want to mention that. I didn't have anything else specific. I mean, I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I would probably just, if there aren't questions, I just kind of wanted to use this time to introduce everyone to Russ Carlstad, who's here with us this evening. I know those of you online can see Russ. He's sitting here in the room with us. Russ is the new facilities director who started here in Concord about 6 weeks ago. So he's been, working very hard to get up to speed. We were without a facilities director since the middle of last year. So the town is really excited to have Russ in that role and helping us get some momentum behind a lot of our facilities tasks and issues moving forward. So, and Russ wanted to come in and meet all of you.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, got a little bit of experience doing this stuff. I have a background in engineering, architecture, and facilities naturally. I 13-year military vet. And went to school for architecture, worked in a mechanical engineering firm during the daytime, designing ductwork and mechanical systems and stuff. And I spent 3 or 4 years working in an ESCO, taking out all the extra that was designed in from the previous 5 years and saving money on shared savings contracts. So I'm very well versed in energy savings and all that goes along with it. A number of projects in architecture. First thing I worked on was Mall of America. So you talk about big and greenhouse gases, right? That was one of them. I've done cruise ships and island residential golf resorts and things of that nature.
Well,
And then I got into facilities when I was living in Arizona, when the market turned and we all were laid off. I ended up going to work with the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation and becoming their facilities director for the Taliesin West properties. So I was there about 3 or 4 years and we relocated back here in Massachusetts and just carried on. That's the elevator speech.
Yeah, I think it'll be great to have you as part of the team for Concord in terms of a lot of the building electrification work and sort of greening work that we're doing with all the schools and especially schools being the biggest one, but everything in town municipal. So looking forward to having you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the electrification is a huge challenge for this town, just on the historical component of it. So I was meeting with Eric today earlier, and the solutions are going to have to be out of the box stuff. Moving forward, right, to get it to work, and you really got to think 5, 10 years down the road, 3 years ago, just to get stuff working. But just moving forward, 1% a day, that's all you ask.
Have you been to every building in town yet?
Not yet, I'm avoiding some.
Yeah.
Well, I came from Pittsburgh before, so there's no shocker here.
Yeah.
No offense to Pittsburgh. Good city.
Yeah, so not surprisingly, Russ already has a long list of things that he's trying to manage from us having a gap in this position for a while and managing the rest of the facility staff. But as he mentioned, we've had 1 or 2 conversations now about sustainability and municipal buildings, doing the energy audits on municipal buildings that what we need to do. So Russ and I are going to be working together on trying to move that forward. And Jerry's expressed an interest in being engaged in that too. Looking for opportunities to improve efficiencies and increase electrification across all the municipal buildings. So, we'll be looking at that, looking at our green communities data for all our buildings. And trying to work on looking for funding opportunities that go along with all of this. And also, we were also talking today about the Green Communities Leadership Program, the new program, and the town's need to do create a decarbonization roadmap as part of that certification process. So anyway, we've got a number of conversations started, and we're looking forward to making progress on some of that stuff.
And I'm one of the earliest lead APs around, so I've had that credential for a long time. Been going green before there was green.
Great.
What is AP?
Yeah, I can't remember what it means anymore.
Accredited
APP,
professional?
accredited professional, and then it's building design and construction, they've added other letters after it, and so.
Yeah.
When did you become accredited?
Oh. 2000, early in the 2000s, I believe, I can't remember the exact year, I just keep renewing it.
Fair. Mine was 2009. So it sounds like maybe you beat me.
Yeah, it should be.
Is there any project or building that's been jumping out as maybe the most interesting or most exciting or maybe most challenging?
Everything's a challenge in this town, just because of the historical nature of it, right?
Yeah.
But working, at Fred Wright Foundation, which is an Resco site, you know, I've dealt with the historical nature of buildings. And, as a matter of fact, it's in Ellison West. Early on in the electrification project, I had First Solar, which is now Tesla. They donated us, 500 gigawatt or megawatt or whatever, I forget the size of it, solar farm. They donated to the foundation. And, it knocked our energy, you're up in the middle of the desert in Arizona.
Yeah.
So we had a $30,000 a month electric bill. And with 97 air conditioning units and heat pumps all around the site, 500-acre site. So the bill went from $30,000 a month down to about $4,000 to $5,000, and just on that alone. And I know that they still get the notice in the mail to pay the bill, because I'm saying still on the email from Arizona.
Imagine what that would be today with all the IRA incentives, it would probably be
Oh, yeah,
better.
it'd be crazy. But, you know, it was nice working in an experimental, basic laboratory that Frank Lloyd Wright developed, and his design ideas are past ideas are great. So we should use more of it.
From what I've heard, there's gonna be a lot of roofs needing replacement and countless other things, so you have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, roof's the big one, so. We're already working on like 4 of them right now. So BD Center is one of them, that's in line for a roof. There's actually the architect on BD Center too, by the way. And the Concord Children's Center, I work at Michael Rosenfeld in Acton.
Oh,
So a little bit of history in town.
All right, Eric, do you have anything else?
No, I think that's it, and yeah, I mean, unless anybody has any other specific questions for Russ, but as I said, you know, he and I. Continue to meet and move forward on all these things. We've already got him access to the MEI database for the town, so he can. He's already familiar with that from previous work, so he can go in there, look at energy use for all the buildings and municipal buildings and things like that. So we'll be using that as some of the background for, you know, how we approach the audits and some of the other efforts.
And if anybody needs any information, just find me over at 133 Kai's Road. And always return phone calls.
Well, thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, I might call you back in for this next session, Eric. So this is my chair update, going to be relatively short. We're hoping to recruit new CAC members. Especially, we have some turnover this spring and then later in the year. So I want to put the message out that if you know anybody, any friends, any, hopefully not enemies, but any acquaintances that you want to invite to join the committee, that would be fantastic. And Brad, I know you had mentioned that you had some people that were interested in joining.
well, I don't know if they were interested in joining or not, but I contacted about 10 people.
Sure.
You know, everybody's busy, but it's you know, it's important work. And, you know, there's a lot of, I think it's a good opportunity to get involved in the town, as everybody here knows.
Do we know who is actually staying on the committee for next
Yeah,
year?
it's already been, we've discussed it, I think, I don't remember the names, but like 5 people are dropping off.
They're definitely dropping off. Well, the user terms came to an end, but I didn't know whether they were going to
Okay.
come for a second 3-year term.
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think, if people renew, that would be great. And especially being cut in half, I think there is actually an interesting opportunity if we get more members to really revamp the committee. A lot more exciting. I mean, there's always something exciting going on with climate in town and important work to do. So I think, it'd be starting maybe in the fall, especially, hopefully there'll be some revamped energy, get some new members in.
Mhm.
Do you know who has access to the green card account that it is? If anybody's getting any messages, if anybody's signing up, have we checked on that?
I checked on it a couple of months ago, there were 3 cards which had been submitted, and that had mentioned the climate committee, and I
Okay.
contacted them all, and none of them were still interested.
Okay.
So it's, this actually takes effort to get people.
Yeah, okay, so we might need, yeah, we might need to check that, maybe there might be some new people who emailed.
Could be.
We can talk offline about how to check that. And then,
I can do that, because I can check with the clerk's office, because that's where the cards get submitted.
also, that'd be great.
And so it was, as Brad mentioned, it was maybe a month or 2 ago that, I inquired with the clerk's office and they had those 3 cards, so I'll just see if there's anything that's changed since then.
Perfect. Okay, and so, other than asking for anybody that you know to join, maybe we can write a Concord Bridge article. I think that would go over well, saying help wanted. essentially. Yeah, if anybody interested in that, writing an article would probably be a pretty short paragraph or 2, asking for more help on the committee. Starting whenever, but probably in the spring, summer, fall, that would be great. I'd be interested in maybe doing that, but if anybody else is interested, please let me know. And I can email about it next meeting,
You
but.
want to do it? That's fine with me.
Yeah, I can definitely do it, just write a little paragraph. I'm not as well connected with any of the bridge editors. If anybody else knows someone to email.
I can provide you an email.
Okay,
But something just occurred to me, it might be, a fortuitous time to have the bridge will do it, publish that, article or letter asking for help right around Earth Day.
Hmm.
And then we can recruit at Earth Day.
Yeah.
At the CAC.
Yeah,
Good point, yeah, because there'll be traffic going by, and like-minded folks should be out.
Yeah, I agree we should do that, okay. Let's get that going. And I'm trying to see on the agenda here, make sure I can. Yeah, later we're gonna talk about the Earth Day events, so we can hold off on that for now, but that's a great idea, Jerry, to have that. Keep in touch with that. Okay, so then also here, want to talk about, again, if anyone wants to take over chair duties after May, that would be fantastic, so keep that in mind. Not gonna push too much, I'll push more next meeting. And then, we have on the agenda, there's the Mass Energize event happening tomorrow from,
What?
that'll be at, is it
it's
Brandeis?
a conference, one-day conference, and I know Eric's going, right, and Janet is signed up to go.
Yes, I'm signed up.
And I'm gonna be going, I don't know. At least one person in the audience will be there. I'd offered a carpool, I have to get there like 7 in the morning though. So I'm not a good carpool candidate unless you want. Hang out.
I'll skip that. Thank you.
But it's
It's right up the train too, I think you can take the Brandeis conference stop, if the conference is right around at the university.
yeah, so there are a couple of workshop sessions in the morning and the afternoon, and a panel discussion and some plenary talk. And we originally had intended up to 200 attendees, and we had up to 150 attendees, and we had 200.
Oh, wow.
And we managed to get overflows, which might end up eating with students downstairs if the catering doesn't cover everybody.
Okay,
But very excited about the
Yeah.
interest in this.
Yeah, and I saw Sabrina Shankman from the Globe, the climate reporter, is gonna be speaking as one of the panelists.
Yeah,
That's great, I love her articles, I always click on them when I see it.
okay, I haven't seen it before.
Oh, you have to, I'll put time on the meeting, agenda next time, so that we can do a little recap of how it went. I'm excited to hear about it. Okay, great. Okay, that's it for me for this update. If you, I think I cut out some time here as well for the next agenda item, both the Green Home Store and Article 31. Brad, so if you want to talk briefly about the Green Home Store and
Yeah.
maybe Cheryl can as well. I don't know if.
Yeah,
Right.
it was fun. And it was, I think, very successful. And it was fun working with Cheryl on planning it and, you know, it was pretty easy to find 6 homeowners. And we purposely picked, you know, 3 one weekend and 3 the next and spread around town. So I've written up a 1-page summary of it that I can append to the minutes. I'll just mention a couple things. A lot of help from the CMLP coaches, Kim, Ethan, and Jeff, and EV specialists. And also volunteers from the committee, Jerry and Eric and Karen.
Not me this time,
You were the first,
in the first group.
the first, yeah, and a few others. I think, you know, just that we had quite a lot of signups, so we put publicity in the bridge. CMLP newsletter was a big one, websites and social media, and we got 123 registrations through a Google form. And we set up a Google form with a script to email you back and tell you which house you were going to. And almost everybody was from Concord. Everybody but 6 of the 123. And we tried to limit visitors to a house to be about 30 at a time. And that was not hard to do. And about 100 people signed up on sign-up sheets indicating what they're most interested in, most of which were heat pumps. So the energy coaches have a lot of follow-up to do with those 100 signups, and may get a lot of coaching engagements, which was kind of the primary objective. So that means it'll have an impact. There's going to be people coached and maybe some systems installed, and but it was also fun. It was fun to hang out at the homes, meet the homeowners, meet the residents. So I think we should do it again. Maybe as soon as the fall. Not necessarily as big. We don't have to do it as big, but
Were the signups pretty well spread out between the first weekend and the next weekend?
yes, although the second weekend was, you know, had more time to sign up, and the Bridge did an article about it. So the second weekend was even heavier.
Okay,
That's that's even more significant because it was an ugly day, it was raining
Yeah,
all day.
Yeah,
So I could imagine some people may have punted.
yeah. So I was quite pleased, and it was a good enough, you know, it's kind of a nice event that any town could do. So glad we did it.
Yeah, I think it was really helpful. Even I enjoyed it a lot. I learned a lot about geothermal during the second weekend.
Yeah.
I think if we can do something like that in the fall, that would be great, get even more people in. We did have some repeat visitors, so it means people are doing their research. I guess they want to go to both, both events. Which I think is good. We can have as repeat visitors. I'm thinking about how maybe we can translate some of the takeaways from people seeing and talking to homeowners, and maybe ask for the climate event next month maybe have some of the homeowners come and discuss their systems or show photos or something like that.
Okay, that's an interesting idea, so, at the Climate Action Committee table,
Yeah, maybe just like, it's almost like having a little pet or something there, like come meet someone who has experience with the heat pump.
yeah,
Learn how to manage a heat pump. Some of
I'm sure that the coaches will be, the CMLP will have a table.
Yeah, yeah, I think, cause I remember when we did the farm, market event.
Acting.
Yeah, Ag Day, that having a CMLP table there is great, but speaking with someone who has it at home as a Concord resident, I feel like it maybe resonate more with people. And I especially liked, some of the questions are really great, so if we can have a very like active question answer, just go up and talk to them. And give them a name tag and make sure that they're, like, I'm sure Laura would love to do it, she'll be there obviously at the event, but
Let's
maybe
ask
some
them.
others. Since you're still close with them via email.
Yeah,
Because it was great to see the homeowners, their face would light up when they got to talk about their system and savings, so I'm sure they'd love to talk more about it. If we haven't overused our resource.
My voice is not working very well, but I do think that there's a real big interest in looking at older homes. Like the Schumacher's home is, I don't know, 1800s or something, and getting rid of radiators and, and switching over to heat pumps. So, looking at some of these older homes and converting, there was a really strong interest there. I mean, they were packed to the gills at that house. So if we do it again, we certainly should have homes like that, because we're real strong interest in older, not that they're 200, but 1800, but even older homes, in the mid 1900s getting converted.
Yeah, that sounds good. Probably most of the housing stock in Concord is more like that, so. It's something good to work in.
yeah,
Yeah, my impression is that people really appreciated the opportunity to get what I think they felt was sort of this unfiltered feedback from homeowners. I mean, it's one thing to talk to CMLP or coaches and, because a lot of the questions were like, well, how does this work here? And my impression was that a good number of the people who came, at least at the homes I was at, had already done some homework and some research into this, so they weren't just learning about heat pumps for the first time. But you could just sort of tell from the conversations that they appreciated some of the candid feedback they got, from the homeowners and.
Some of the things they ran into.
Yeah, the house I was in was, the second weekend, the house I was in, they had installed heat pumps a number of years ago, and so they had sort of this track record of a bunch of years of having a heat pump and saying it had worked well and been successful. But they were also willing to admit that they probably weren't cleaning the filters in the, in the wall units as much as they should have, which, the heat pump coach was encouraging them to do. And they're like, so the discussion became about how important that is for the efficiency of those, so it's sort of that human element, I think.
okay, yeah, so
Really, really counts. And just to see it in action too. I mean, you can talk about heat pumps and they can read stuff on the website, but to go and be able to see a system and see it inside and outside, what it looks like, and how it works in that particular house, I think that was really helpful to some people. And, of course, we'd like to think that a large number will contact a heat pump coach, but and that's one measure of success, I suppose, is how much coaching traffic are we generating, but at the same time, I think that there's sort of that maybe less measurable element of it where they just were able to have that human interaction and
yeah,
maybe allay some concerns or fears they might have had if they hadn't done that otherwise.
kind of normalizing, electric heating.
It also may have helped that, for example, the house I was at, which Cheryl was at too, it was packed. And I gotta believe that people kind of look over their shoulder and say, oh, there's a lot of people here. I'm not the only one interested in this.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing for building momentum as well. But long story short, yeah, I think we should plan to do this again for sure.
Yeah.
At a minimum next spring, maybe even this fall.
Especially different seasons can be interesting, that people see, oh, it works as a cooling AC device, it works as
Yeah,
as a
it's
heater.
interesting, doing it in the fall, coming on the heels of summer, people will probably be interested in the fact they get air conditioning effectively for free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm curious if, did they all have backup oil or gas for the winter time, or were these full electrification for building heat?
They were a mix. I would say, two-thirds of them had, full electrification and 1/3 of them had a backup system. I
And
think,
did the full electrifications, did they have positive feedback on, you know, peak cold events in the winter time and being able to keep their house warm enough?
the houses that I was in, they were able to keep it warm enough.
yeah, and-
Fine, so there were 4 fully electrified, there were 2 that were, had backups.
And these were mostly air source heat pumps?
All except for one. One house, the second weekend was, geothermal.
Yeah, and I think that the key was that the people who had heat pumps had the cold weather graded heat pumps. Because if you get a standard one, it can struggle through the coldest days, so as long as you get a sort of cold graded one, then it should be okay. And yeah, I know like Laura, for example, had a backup wood stove in case anything happened, but knock on wood, CMLP's outage rate's pretty low. So especially compared to others, so we're fortunate, and some people had asked questions about having a battery backup in the home or having a generator. And that didn't really seem to be top of mind for the homeowners, but if maybe batteries get cheaper, people might think about having a battery as a backup, although it would only last maybe a couple hours at most.
Right.
I don't know if that would get you through a significant or a severe outage, but potentially.
Yeah, but I do think that was kind of at least in my experience, the houses I was in with the groups I saw that tended to be a focus, was a lot of questions were focused on, does this really work? You know, and I think, at least in the homes I was in, the answer was yes. And it also brought up a good point, which is that along with considering heat pump, you really need to do very good weatherization. And that was kind of a nice message that went along with that, is just to say, it's not enough just to install a heat pump, you really need to make sure that your home's weatherized, because the more weatherized it is, the more efficient the heat pump is gonna be, the more comfortable you're gonna be. So that was kind of a theme that was through conversations as well.
Yeah, almost like a ladder, you know, you wanna weatherize first and then maybe do the heat pump and then put solar on top, so the heat pump will pull electricity from your home. I even recommended to some people who were maybe on the fence to, if they didn't already have ducted in their home, that they could just put the heat pump in one room that gets really cold or hot, and they wanna, say a bedroom, and they don't have AC already, or maybe not. Like one couple I spoke to, they didn't have AC in their home and it got really hot in the summer in their room. So I thought that could be a great example of put the heat pump in there, see how it works, see if you like it. Then you can expand out to the rest of your house if you want. Yeah, you don't have to empty your bank account on day one. Maybe do it step by step. Yeah, but thanks for organizing again, Brad and Cheryl as well, really crushing it, leading it for this committee. And especially the refreshments went over well. The chocolate covered strawberries were fantastic. If we had any of those,
Well,
I was over there a little too much, but.
I know it's only one house,
Yeah.
and,
Okay. All right, also during this time, Brad, I set aside time for discussion of Article 31 for the town meeting, if you have slides to share.
yeah. So I can share those, and maybe I should just share the screen on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Is
if you
that
want-
showing the Zoom? That's
Yeah.
okay.
Eric, you want
But
to
this
pull
shows
the
the Zoom.
Zoom window?
Okay, so share the screen would be this green one. And I'm just gonna share my PowerPoint. So I I wrote a memo to the select board, and this, which to answer some of their questions about Article 31. This sort of mimics it. So I have to do a presentation. Well, first, there's a Concord Canned Coffee on the 16th,
Yes, 16th.
16th, to present this, but then the town meeting, beyond that, also the League of Women Voters as one. So I'll get a couple of run-throughs, but this is the first run-through of this, slide deck. And it's a little bit rough, but so I'll begin. So Article 31 is Concord's updated goals to meet the climate emergency, and the article asks whether the town will declare a climate emergency in recognition that climate change threatens humanity, and that we can do significantly more, and update Concord's energy goals to align with the Commonwealth greenhouse gas goals. I think we here in the committee, we all kind of know there's an emergency, but I think people are recognizing it, that it's actually having some catastrophic effects in some places, including pretty close to Concord. The past 10 years are the hottest in human history. And 2023 was off the charts. This picture with the red line shows the temperature through the year, just sort of getting away from the temperature, setting records through the latter half of the year, and continues into 2024. And the wildfires in Nova Scotia, extreme precipitation, flooding in Leominster, very close to here, New York City and Vermont. So you read about it all the time, and it seems to be accelerating. What do we mean by emergency? Well, we know that no matter what, the youngest residents among us will experience climate disruption as a fact of life. But what we can do now will affect the lives of generations to come. And the way I think of an emergency is that you think first of what steps to take quickly and change course, and not just about cost, not just about convenience. And the fact that it should be all of our responsibility to take action and prevent catastrophe. So good news is that Massachusetts is determined to be a leader in addressing climate change with a 2021 climate roadmap bill and a clean energy and climate plan strengthening emission reduction targets. And so those targets are 50% emissions reduction by 2030 and 85% emission reductions by 2050. And the state has a target of net zero emissions at 2050 by carbon sequestration. And our feeling is that Concord can and should be a leader among Massachusetts communities. The other good news is that solutions exist today to meet the 2030 targets, primarily emissions-free, low-cost, reliable electricity provided by CMLP. Electrifying homes with heat pumps is a big part of it. And also electrifying transportation with EVs, electric bikes, and using public transport. And these are safer, healthier, and cost-effective options that are available today. So Concord has been making progress towards our goals. And in fact, from a preliminary result from the emissions reduction analysis is that emissions are down 37% from the 2008 baseline for the emissions we track. So a 50% reduction by 2030 is within reach. But further reductions, since we've already cleaned up the electricity, require many more homes, buildings, and vehicles to be electrified. So the Climate Action Committee asks for your support on Article 31, and we urge Concord to remain a leader in demonstrating commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions in every sector of the economy. And by our actions, we hope to inspire communities across the Commonwealth to do the same. That's my presentation. Did I keep it to 4 minutes?
Yeah, that was perfect. So this is for the Finance Committee that you'll be presenting this, or this?
It's for the town meeting, but I don't know if I have to present to the finance committee.
I don't think so, because I'm not asking for funding, specific funding for.
Not specific.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing, but I appreciate any comments on this. I mean, it tends to be, now that I'm reading through, I know it's verbose, need to work on delivery. But
I think Paul has.
Paul has,
Hi, first of all, I'm super late. I just teach, today. So I think that it's a great presentation, Brad. I think you might say we have a new climate today than we did, 20 years ago. So we're already in a new climate period, and it's changing every day. And you also might point out that even if we get to net zero emission by 2050, climate change is going to continue for centuries. And so the most we can do right now is slow it down. And then I think, you might say something about, the impacts we're going to see because of climate change in Concord. Extreme temperature, extreme precipitation, impacts on the operation of the wastewater treatment plant, impacts on our water supply system, and so on. Because we have to do more, unfortunately, we have to do more now than just decrease, we have to do more now than just get to renewables. We also need to deal with this change in climate and how it's going to impact our infrastructure and our health and our ecological systems. So it just can't be mitigation. We're beyond that point now. Climate change can't be reversed. The most we can do is slow it down. So I wonder if we could just add a slide in that more or less says, we also got to prepare our infrastructure, our health systems, and our environment for the new climate.
Do you mind sharing it again, Brad? Just so
yeah, sure. I could, let me get to the Zoom again. I could do that. Where did the presentation go? It was right there. I have it. Oh, there it is. The article text is more about mitigation than adaptation on what it's asking the town to do, which perhaps is isn't perfectly targeted. It doesn't ask for funding, but could add a slide on that.
I think.
Are you going to have a handout?
Yes, I need to make a handout.
So that could talk about some of the issues the Paul brought up.
Right. So I need to make a handout, and I should probably distribute it to the committee and just get some suggestions back on it.
Okay, I think it would be helpful to potentially add a slide that says something along the lines of, who sort of what our work is like as the Climate Action Committee, and say like the Climate Action Committee has been working towards XYZ goals as outlined in the Climate Action Plan for 2020, but we want to accelerate our progress, and something like this would be helpful, just so it's not like so we show what work we've done or say what we're working on, and how this fits into the picture, rather than just saying, oh, we should speed these up. We're sort of giving a why, because we're working on this, we want more support.
Okay, I definitely think we should add a slide that mentions the Climate Action Plan and its major elements. And there's very little time in 4 minutes to describe much, but not mentioning the Climate Action Plan is a mistake.
Yeah, I would think maybe in one of the first slides, you don't have to even talk through it, you can just show it for 15 seconds and say like Climate Action Committee in charge of doing implementing the Climate Action Plan, 4 big ticket items that we're working on. Here's why we want this article to help give us more momentum in the town.
Okay. To introduce the, okay,
Hey, Ed, this is Mike. Nice slide presentation. I wanted to, I guess, almost second guess, not second guess, but second Phil's recommendation on somehow maybe tying in the capital needs that the town may experience going forward and bringing some sort of financial angle to it. For better or for worse, unfortunately, I think that's really what grabs people's attention. And I know we're working on some sort of resilience plan, or not the opposite of mitigation with the water, with the drainage. Eric, you were working on to increase the capacity of the drainage pipes, and we were designing for 100-year floods, and we've already done that like three years in the past 10 years. So clearly the design specifications are outdated, and all of that has to be revamped. So, maybe even just bringing that in as an example of, okay, this is an example of how the town is going to have to spend more money just adapting to climate change, and there will be more of this to come. That's just a thought. I think the financial aspect always tends to grab people's attention a little bit more than the goodwill impact.
There's the stormwater enterprise fund, that's what it's called.
we don't have, there's,
So that's relevant to this.
it's relevant, but we don't have anything credible to say about costs. Maybe somebody else, maybe someone can fill me in on what the costs are gonna be. This article doesn't ask for money. And if it asked for money, we would have to know how to spend it.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say that
So
asking for money, I'm
right.
just saying that the town is aware of the problem of dealing with the climate change that is happening, in that it's starting this new fund.
Yeah, and that's as I was speaking, Brad, I was thinking, well, it would be a big dig, and that information, the actual financial numbers and the quantifying of that, I'm sure is not available. I was thinking more in terms of here's an example of the immediate impact that we're recognizing at this point. We haven't put a dollar value on it yet, but we will at some point, and it's going to impact the drain network, it's going to impact water systems, it's going to impact the electrical network, it's going to impact everything. Here's the tip of the spear right now, is just dealing with these 100-year flood issues as an example.
Yeah. I think that's gonna have to go in the handout. But whether or not we pass this article, we're gonna be dealing with those costs.
Yeah, and whether it's in the presentation or a handout, I would suggest that, it is worth mentioning that, in order to achieve these goals, we have to make sure that the town has the appropriate resources dedicated to achieving these goals, and some of those are gonna be financial resources, and although that may be in some cases, maybe a cost now, maybe a much greater cost later.
I guess maybe the slide that says this article doesn't specifically ask for funding. However, we know that upgrading buildings, upgrading infrastructure is going to be needed. Okay.
And I think the attack of presenting some more good news to, I guess, use the carrot more than the stick, because we don't want to be too doom and gloom sometimes. So not to give you extra work, but if there are any stats in town on, let's say, the increase in electric vehicles or the increase in heat pumps installed in town, we can say.
There are
progress.
stats, but you know, you start bringing numbers into the presentation and
True.
it slows down. But,
Yeah, you could say like yeah,
um,
maybe it's in the handout, like, yeah, more EVs have been.
so that should go in the handout. I think there's gonna have to be some work on this handout.
I want to offer a little bit of a contrarian view here. Yes, there is good news. We can report some good news in certain areas.
Yeah,
But I don't see that motivating people to declare this an emergency. What's going to motivate someone to vote to join us in declaring this an emergency? I don't think it's gonna be, well, we've got more EVs in town. Or we've
Right.
made good progress on heat pumps. I think that actually argues opposite from that.
right.
I'm not suggesting doom and gloom, but I think we have to be most effective, there needs to be as clear a tie as we can make as to why we want an emergency declaration.
Okay, and so,
No,
I hear that. I think that's a good point. And essentially, that we know that for 2050, all homes are going to be electrified that can be. And the sooner the better.
Yeah.
So, I didn't make that point clear enough.
You know, one possibility here is something Eric said, which, to use a trite expression, it's pay me now or pay me later. Except that the pay me later payments will be much larger. You know, that might be a motivation to declare this an emergency. Let's get it done now before it gets worse.
Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
it
balance.
could be, I mean, and obviously, you know, there are financial considerations, but it could just be even more of a action now versus action later.
Yes,
You know, sense of urgency where, you know, the more action we take now,
right.
the less impacts later, at least in terms of the town, in terms of things like infrastructure and you know, things like that, so. I mean, speaking to your point, you know, I think in the beginning, you touched on, you know, some of the sort of more disturbing trends that have been happening in the last
Yeah.
10 years with temperatures. Somebody mentioned this morning at the Conservation and Climate Coffee about, Delia, I think it was, Natural Resources was talking about March being the wettest month on record, and I don't know exactly what context that was, but you know, this past March has been, you know, really high precipitation and a lot of flooding in areas, you know, so I think there's, you know, you have some of that in there, and I think that's good to, I would say, to help set that stage that, you know, if you're talking about this being an emergency, it's just saying, you know, we're already seeing things change.
right.
Pretty dramatically.
Maybe drive home the local angle of it, like what we've seen some changes in Concord already, with more flooding, like higher precipitation rates. So it's not just a global thing, it's something that is threatening
Yeah.
people in the hometown.
Right.
Hey, Brad, does if Article 31 passes, does it trigger different approaches or different ways of approaching what town does or how they approach climate change and we approach climate change? Is there some policy trigger that sets off?
Not really. But it does call for arguing that, you know, waiting a few months to replace police cruisers, if the cruisers aren't available, might be a better thing to do than to, buy now. Or, you know, it emphasizes that, we take every step we can.
Yeah, it's, you might get questions about that, if it's like a more of a legal thing or what policy or what law might come in place, but to emphasize that it's gonna color the backdrop, it's gonna add more impetus to all the initiatives that we're looking at.
Yeah,
Also, you do mention this, but the state is setting the pace right now. We're not keeping up.
yeah.
And the essence of this is we want to reset our goals to keep pace with the state's goals.
Right.
So I don't know if that's something you can or should work into that, but, or work in more than you already have.
You mentioned that we want to be the leader. Maybe tie that to, we want to get back ahead of the state or in line with the state.
yes. Yeah, I don't even think this is controversial. Partly because we don't bring up the money. Perhaps. Yeah. I think I need to do some work on the handout, certainly, in the next week.
So we won't have another meeting before the town meeting, so
Right.
if there's, if you want help on it, just feel free to email it out to the group.
I will
People can respond individually.
draft, I'll get a draft handout in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Probably sooner than that.
Okay.
Cause I think I have to have it to a printer by some day.
Great.
Maybe in the
Thanks
next
for
week.
taking the lead on this. Are you gonna present anything? Do you go up and speak at the town meeting, or will you just show the slides?
What?
At the town meeting, will you show the slides, or will you be up there speaking?
I'll speak on the slides, yeah.
Okay, best of luck then. We'll be there to support you.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna keep us moving here, Brad.
Good,
And you respond to questions too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions. Okay. All right, we're gonna keep us moving here, a little behind, but the next one is on the Hanscom expansion environmental impact review that came out earlier this month, and it's due in was it a 4-week period or a 6-week period for comment?
The comments are due on May the 10th.
May the 10th, okay. So,
And the Stop Private Jet expansion has developed essentially instructions, on how to, what's wrong with the draft environmental impact report. And how to respond to it, and it's well worth looking at. Those
yeah,
Stop Private Jets, SPJE.org,
okay,
and if you go to that website, there is an action plan which tells you who to send to, what some of the criticism, what some of the shortcomings are of the impact report. And, lots of advice as to what to say in a letter.
so, but the committee wouldn't write, should the committee write a letter?
so I think,
And maybe it's not time for that.
yeah, you can go on to Massachusetts, the portal for responding to comment to this. And I think that everyone, if you have the time, please go on and respond. And I linked the environmental impact review draft
Yeah.
in the agenda, so it's there to click on. And if you want to read it and then comment, that would be great. Now, the other question is, if we want to have a letter from our committee. I'm not as close to the Stop Private Jet expansion group. Is anyone close with them? Knows that they might have a
Well,
letter that we can sign on, or that we would write our own, and they would support something like that.
The committee could, I think the committee has time in that, the responses aren't due until May the 10th, and we meet on the 7th.
Yes,
We could do that.
okay.
Janet,
would you be interested in maybe writing a draft letter we can review,
I could do that. I was
I
gonna
do.
send something individually.
I did make some comments on it, that we could put in the letter if we want, and I didn't look at what SPJE said. But I thought that.
Yeah, his SPJE just points out some of the weaknesses and.
I think it was it was rather deceptive. Marketing this, they spent so much time talking about ferry flights. And with a goal, with just looking at 2030. You
Yeah.
don't build an airport, you don't build something like that for 6 years of use. This is so that they can, it can be, profitable for 40 years of use.
And you don't put in a 20,000 gallon tank for aviation fuel if there's gonna be no more flights.
Right,
I mean, this,
Yeah, for context, for those who didn't get a chance to read it, the review, in my opinion, so they had said that there are gonna be 17 new hangars built in addition to all the fuel needed for that and the parking lots needed for that. In my opinion, they're pushing a lot of the sustainability aspect of putting solar panels on, doing EVs there, which they can do without an expansion, but some of in my opinion, some of their work is a bit of greenwashing where they say, oh, we'll install the capacity for dirty airplanes to fly, but we'll coat it in a nice greenwashing. So-
it's all greenwashing and when they talk about how much emissions there will be from the planes, they only account when it's in the vicinity of Hanscom, so it's takeoff and landing. You know, how much fuel is involved in taking you to Nantucket or taking you to London or taking you to Singapore, that's not counted.
Yeah,
It's, which,
yeah, on the emission
It
section.
I
doesn't
think it
really,
is,
I'm sorry,
I think it is,
no, it isn't,
it isn't,
no, it isn't,
okay.
not in their calculations.
Okay,
Yeah, as part of the introduction as well, they seem to highlight the fact that the building more hangars will reduce these ferry flights. However, that's when you're bringing in an airplane and then people get on because there's no place to store it. But the problem with that is, in my opinion here, basically, they're saying that the ferry flights are, if you can reduce them, that's 2 to 3% of all the flights. And that's pretty small compared to what they're projecting, what they're forecasting the demand will be. And their forecasted demand has the implications of building these new hangars, that the demand will go up and up. They're saying the forecasted demand as if it's a law of nature that's going to happen. But they're going to increase the demand by building, they're going to be reducing the demand by building these more hangars. So that was a fundamental flaw that I didn't understand, is that they're using some 2017 forecasts and saying it's going to keep growing, but it'll accelerate the growth is building new hangars.
Well, the whole ferry flight issue is, basically they have no data. And they don't know, they know which flights have gone a certain distance. And, I think the ferry flight is defined as something that's less than, I don't remember exactly, less than so many miles. And comes to the Hanscom and leaves again. But they don't know whether there are passengers on the flights or not, because there's no record keeping of that. So ferry flights are sort of
Yeah, they even have a part of the conclusion that says the project is estimated to result in 12 daily operations on average. These flights are projected to arrive and depart Hanscom regardless of whether the project is constructed. So as far as I understand, then don't really need to hang as much if it's already in happening.
Yeah,
the projections they used on growth were, and I calculated they used a 1.7% annual growth, where the industry says growth is over 2%. So they chose a different growth rate than the jet aviation industry is using. But I actually think it's going to be higher than that, because there's pent up demand because of this lack of hangar space. But I don't know about that. That's speculation.
well, I mean, there's the concept of induced demand. Alan Quackenbush wrote a letter which he shared with me, which was really good, and I'd be happy to share it with anybody who wants to see it.
Well, Janet, I appreciate your sending that email to stop the expansion. but I wish everybody here, I've already shared it with a number of people who have expressed concerns about this. If we all share it and the more voices that respond, the better. So I think that we've already got an outline on where they've screwed up the data and where they're misrepresenting the data. And if we could all share this information to people, and the more people that write in, the better. I think that's what we should all be doing.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'd like to see that letter. And for those reasons.
Yeah, I think did I send it to all of you? I think I did. I don't know.
Maybe if you wanna resend it out to.
I can resend it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I had a problem with they say that the new hangar will produce 194 vehicle trips per day, but they have they wanted to build a 275 lot parking. So I'm confused as to why they need that big of a parking lot, if they say.
mhm,
So yeah, this just talk about impervious surfaces and everything. I think there's a lot of big problems with this, and they don't properly account for air emissions. They focus a lot on the building emissions, which are relatively low. They say they're gonna be heat
right,
pumps, but
I
the
mean,
big problem is the airplane emissions.
yeah, they talk about net zero, but they're talking about what's on the ground.
Yeah.
And what goes up in the air.
Yeah, so if you have the time, please, you can follow the link, and I know Eric had sent out some information about the website to be able to comment, so. Maybe Jen, if you're gonna send something up, could you circulate those links again if you have them, or maybe Eric? Just so everyone has the website link for where to comment.
Yeah, I think you had
I
sent
can
that
do,
out.
I can do that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that would be great.
It's what they sent, I mean, it's very thorough, what they sent out, it's. I don't know, goes on for pages.
And that's the one from, okay.
Well, this is the public comment toolkit that I have.
Okay.
And it's easier to send the SPJE website itself. This is a Google Doc, and I'm not sure I can share this.
Okay.
So I think it's better to send the SPJE website, and then you can write on the front page, right on the, on the opening page, there's a link to the toolkit.
Okay,
Sure. I'll make sure to save agenda time next meeting so we can review a letter or any other info that you want to share.
Okay, so who's drafting the letter?
If you want to, if you have the time, but
Yeah, I can try.
I'm sure the SJPE group will probably have. some.
Right, I mean, I'm gonna send something for myself, but I
Okay.
can,
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm gonna keep us moving here. Thanks for spearheading that, Janet. If you need any
right,
help, please email.
um,
But yeah, if everyone could go to the link and comment, we don't want to see more airplane traffic in Concord for air pollution for the climate, but also local and noise pollution, so,
right.
yeah. Okay, so.
I mean, the method, the goal of SPJE is to focus on climate and not just focus on Hanscom, it's, private jets anywhere.
Yeah,
And so having, noise and local pollution is less of an issue in
Yeah.
their minds. The small particulate emissions that will come from the jets is a serious problem.
yeah, because I know they have a section of environmental justice in the report,
Yeah.
but it doesn't talk about that they could be like
And-
local pollution.
In the hearing that was held in Bedford last month,
Mhm.
the Massport response to us being asked about the small particulate emissions is saying, well, there are no standards, so we're not measuring it.
They don't measure PM10? I thought the air quality board had to measure all of that.
I'm not sure which, I mean, it's a small particulate, I don't remember the number. But they said that there were no standards for the small particulates, which made no sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, Massport really wants this project, to happen. So Janet, I can help you draft that letter. I gave a presentation a couple of months ago to the town. And there's a lot of, well, you were there. You were
I
there.
was, that's true. Again, very good.
There's that presentation, and it's not mine, but the co-presenters that were there had a lot of information. I'm sure it's on the SPJE website. And it sounds like the second draft of this doesn't really address all of those issues that were brought up 2 months ago in the meeting. So I've dug into this a little bit in the past. I'd be happy to help you co-author that letter on behalf of the committee.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And of course, that when you made that presentation, it was before the DER came out.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to respond to now.
Yeah, right. And ultimately, MEPA is the governing agency here, correct? I mean, they're the ones that are going to have to ultimately approve the DEIR.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
There's Alex Strisky, STRYSKY, is the MEPA analyst assigned to this project. Whoever he is.
Okay.
Okay, sounds like a good game plan. Let us know if you need any help. I'm gonna keep us moving here, for timing.
All right, well, I guess 3 of us can work together.
Yeah. And I'm sure this segue to our next item. I'm sure there'll be hopefully there'll be a table at the Earth Day event happening on April 20th of the stuff.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so this next item here is Climate Action Committee's presence at the April 20th Earth Day event held at the library. And we want to make sure that we, just like we've done well at Ag Day and some other events, we want to make sure that we have a table there, we have some interactive work. I know that Karen's been working on some of the trivia questions. If you want to talk about that maybe for a second.
Sure. So I've also been working with Laura Davis on getting the invitations out to about 27 to 30 organizations, inviting them to come participate. There's a Google form to fill out. I will fill that out for CAC.
Okay.
And then also collecting ideas from committee members for trivia type questions and statistics. And then I'm gonna work with Gavin to try and figure out what the interactive element is at the table. I mean, right now I've been playing around with like word jumbles and crosswords and just straight out Q&A type things, but I would love some ideas from folks on what kind of stats are interesting to people, but that we should also be sort of promoting and getting to people to think about. I've also been collecting ideas for other things that we might do. The inviting the homeowners, I think is a great idea to, just have somebody with us, sort of make rotating in and out, talking to folks about their own personal experiences. And then the membership drive. So, and other ideas for what materials, any takeaways that we should have at the table, or any other things that we want to make sure people know about, given it's Earth Day, it's April 20th, what's happening, what's coming, that folks should be aware about.
I think that sounds great. Thanks for leading that. A couple of things from my end. Maybe something like having an iPad out, some touch there so they can click, have multiple choice saying like some of the ideas I sent to you about trivia questions, what is this? And they can click an answer and something pops up like, hey, you got it right, or oh, you're terrible, you got it wrong. Something like that could be fun. I like the idea of having the homeowners. I like the idea of I'll bring my e-bike. I know Laura will probably have her bike there. In the past, we have brochures out, but people don't seem to really grab the brochures as much. I think they like talking to us and things like that. So if we have some stuff there, we have the interactive trivia, I think that would be great. And maybe, so if we have homeowners, I was thinking about maybe if we have like an actual heat pump there on the table or something like that, almost like a ductless one that we could have. I don't know if we know if that's even possible.
No.
You don't think so?
There are companies around, you could start calling companies and find out if they have a demo model and they won't want to lend it to you.
You don't think so? Maybe I'll give it a try.
You know,
I think it might not be as helpful. Obviously, speaking to the homeowners would be great to have there, but just pointing it
well,
out.
we're gonna have homeowners there that have electric homes already, given that some of us have electric homes.
Mhm.
I don't see how the homeowners fit in.
Yes.
necessarily.
You don't think so? Some of the homeowners from the green home tours wouldn't wanna hang out and talk to people?
I'm sure they'll be there at the festival, some of them. But what would they, you know? Have a sign or, you know, I don't know how you do this. The last festival I have 3 of these, climate superhero costumes. That are fun, maybe fun for kids, they look ridiculous. I have a bunch of trivia questions that I made for my daughter. That I want to send you. But do you need I don't want this all to be dumped on you. You have some other people to work with on
Not at the moment.
Right.
The other question is who can be available that day between 12 and 4, or even a little bit before for setup and breakdown, to staff the table.
I'll be there the whole day, so that's one.
I mean, I'm obviously planning to be there.
Are you having a table, a sustainability table, or are you joining us?
I was assuming that they'd probably be joining the climate action committee table.
Great.
So I could help with that table itself, and then I'll need to talk to Laura to see whether there's any expectation that, you know, she may also need me in helping her like running around, just some logistics and other
Right.
things.
It's happening on the library lawn.
Just happening, yeah, so it's happening on library lawn and, you know, I mean, cause I feel like, you know, if participants have questions or need something, you know, they're gonna have to have a place to come and ask questions or look for help, and so. I don't know if I'll be playing a role in that. I was assuming I might be, you know, just with the event about helping people know where to go and how to set up and all that kind of stuff, so.
And-
But between that and the climate action committee table / sustainability table, then, I mean, I'll be there the whole day, so.
Great.
Yeah,
I'm in a
I
similar
will be
boat.
there too.
Okay,
I may have
great.
to split the time between,
Various tables.
probably can,
Are they having a table?
at least so.
So we do have, inclement weather location, which is the cafeteria at the high school.
I
Oh,
wonder.
really?
So that's been reserved. Obviously, it's less ideal than the library lawn in good weather, but, it gives us, at least for now, we have that space reserved, so that gives us an option to possibly do that there if it looks like the weather's gonna be really bad.
Okay. Do we need help with some of the logistics of getting the table?
Well, yeah, I'm coordinating with Laura and, about some of the logistics with, you know, getting tables and chairs.
And I think if we had some things like maybe a copy of the climate action plan out on the table or maybe a few other things, but not too much, because if we have an iPad, let's say for the trivia, I think we can help people and they can learn like that.
Yeah, and I've been coordinating with the library to make sure that we have, you know, all the proper forms for the town and police and all that kind of stuff for the events. So just some of the background, exciting logistics, just to make sure that all that insurance and, you know, all that fun stuff is squared away. So I think we're in pretty good shape with that.
And CMLP, will they have a table, do you?
Yeah, CMLP told me they're intending to be there. I think they may have two tables, because they might also have Energy New England there with some EV folks, because we have a request in with the police to reserve a couple of the parking spots right there, next to the lawn. For possibly a few EVs that, obviously not test drives or anything, but just that people could look at and talk to an EV specialist about. And then they'll have a table with, for all about CMLP programs and rebates and incentives. I invited Public Works to be there with their Enviroscape watershed model. Kind of, somewhat related to stormwater utility but just, climate impacts. None of the staff are gonna be able to make it, but Alyssa Brown, who's a Concord resident is the river ambassador for the Suasco River Stewardship Council. She has volunteered to do the watershed model at a table, and then we're gonna try to find another volunteer to help her out with that. She's actually gonna be, I think, picking up the model on Thursday from Public Works, and they'll give her sort of a tutorial, because I don't know if she's really used it herself before. But we'll have that presence there. Yeah, so I've been trying to, ask around some of the different, town departments to see, what kind of presence they might want to have. Okay.
Yeah, and it's, so it's April 20th from 12 to 4 on the library lawn or at the high school if it's inclement weather. So, I encourage everyone from the committee to go. It's been really fun doing it when we did on Ag Day and also the kind of street fair day. So even if you only come for half an hour, for the whole time, please come help out at the table and talk to your fellow citizens.
You can schedule.
Thank you. Fabulous. Will be a good turnout.
Because the umbrella is also doing some programming simultaneously that focuses on climate and the environment. So there'll be, adjacent sort of events going on, and I think they even have some stuff that's happening at 4 o'clock. So it could be like a good transition for people to move
Right.
from our event over to there, or if they happen to be over there doing something, maybe come over to our event. So.
Nice. And maybe we should, it's a nice warm day, we'll get out there early and make some meatless hamburgers for everyone, get in and try it. Okay,
To advise people to go by bike, because there will be probably much parking.
yeah, definitely. If you can go by bike, and I'll be showing up my e-bike in front, so I'll definitely be going by bike. I think that's good. If anybody else has anything? And so that'll be before our next meeting, so Karen, let us know if you need any help in an email, and I'll help organize as well.
Great, thank you. I'll pull together some sort of presentation for folks to react to in terms of the interaction.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Do you know, so you suggested doing an iPad with trivia questions and, is there a program that runs that?
Is there what?
Do you have to program that, or do you just want it to?
Yeah, probably it's pretty easy. You could find some website to do it. I'd be happy to help create that if you have a list of questions. And
Okay.
So that sounds like a useful.
yeah, I can use I can bring an iPad too, and people can touch it.
You're very generous.
Yeah. Or do we have a town laptop or iPad we could use?
Not at the moment. Apparently there used to be a sustainability iPad, but nobody can seem to figure out where it went. Yeah, bring some disinfectant. So it's, I think I put it in the budget for next year. Yeah. All right, I know we don't currently have one.
I have an old one, but I think it's like a 2. Probably doesn't do much.
Yeah, I can use mine. We'll figure out what software to put on.
I had one that I was, gonna show people a cool Concord website and just talk about actions and stuff like that.
We could have a QR code for that if people want to say, go on a Cooler Concord website or Mass Energy guys as well.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Okay, all right, I'm gonna keep this moving here. Unless anybody has any last words. Okay,
Actually, I'll just mention one last thing, which is, just an idea to potentially think about maybe having at the table is if we had sort of a poster board where people could just put a sticker for different actions that they've already taken or intend to take. Just kind of a fun thing, they walk by and they don't need to put a sticker, like, I've already done a heat pump, or have an EV or, you know, maybe a different color here is something that you're hoping to do or plan to do, we can just, it's just kind of a visual that people can see as they walk by, where people can contribute to it throughout the day or something like that, so. I don't know, just a thought of a visual to go along with.
Yeah. Do we have resources to do that? Do we have like?
Maybe, I'll look into that.
So-
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there
that-
isn't a poster board that could be behind our table or in front of our table.
Yeah,
We just draw a line on this.
I mean, I'm happy to talk to you about details or ideas around that. I mean, it was just something I thought might be an interesting visual to go along with, you know, people walk by, maybe they say, oh, wow, there's that many people on heat pumps or EVs in town and just.
That's a good idea.
It is a good idea, because it's you don't have to get into something,
Yeah.
it grabs your attention from walking past.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you go on.
It turns into art value in it too, so that'd be good. All right. So we have the trivia iPad, we have us there to help talk, potentially some homeowners, potentially a heat pump, who knows? And we'll also get the sticker board. That sounds good. Try to make it as jazzy as possible, sell our committee so we can get some new members, maybe to signing.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna keep us moving. So next up is the updates on the working group efforts. So looks like I put myself first here for the solar task force update. I know Wendy is on the call as well, who's on the solar task force with me. So she can fill in anything, maybe if she wants, or just listen to me. So basically, there's been a big change. So this is quite significant. The CMLP has basically they have a big problem where with the closing of MCI Concord is that it's removing demand from the grid about 0.6 megawatts to 1 megawatt of consistent demand, relatively consistent demand during the day or throughout the day, but especially Concord has a problem where when there's solar is really churning and a lot of power is online during the middle of the day, we don't have much load for it. So there isn't much demand for power. Now with MCI Concord being taken offline, that increases the problem is that there's nowhere to go with this power. So there's also a critical potential that bus bar 2, one of the bus bars in town, there's 2 bus bars in town. One of them has a pretty severe problem where it's getting close to solar saturation, meaning that it could shut down, and that's a pretty bad scenario. So because of that,
Solar saturation like once a year on one weekend.
it depends. It could be more. Now, there are mechanisms like curtailment, turning off the solar, but CMLP has, from what I've learned over the last year, is that it doesn't have as good of a view into the system, and that the modernization to be able to see what's real-time updates aren't as strong. So they're able to do curtailment, but it would basically add so much complication to the problem. So
They've been using this as an excuse for 5 years now.
I won't comment on that, but basically what's happening now is CMLP really wants to avoid curtailment or any significant problems on the bus bar by installing batteries as soon as possible on that bus bar 2 side. Now, the problem is that in our warrant article as a solar task force, we've said that we want to install batteries, but we've put a specific location, and because of the town meeting, how it works, we can't edit that. So the idea is now that there's going to be a special town meeting that's going to happen adjacent to the current town meeting that will have our one article sponsored by Solar Task Force potentially and CMLP primarily to install 1 battery or 2 batteries as soon as possible on a new location on bus bar 2, which is likely near the Acton town border, the WR Grace solar site. So all this is dynamic and changing. We're having a meeting this Thursday that's gonna be at the Solar Task Force with CMLP. That's gonna dive into the details and figure out why this has just popped up and what we need to do about it. But so it's looking like there's some potential that we'll go ahead with this special town meeting, and we'll go ahead with our warrant article, which will ask for a battery or 2 at a new location, and also all the command and control type systems to be able to monitor the grid well and turn it off and on and have that view into it. So basically, it's been, yeah, that's new development that's gonna be in flux, and we have a meeting on Thursday to discuss it. We haven't been able to discuss it in person yet. That just happened. CMLP just flagged this as an issue recently. Because obviously the MCI Concord closing was done after the town warrant article submission deadline was closed. We weren't able, or CMLP wasn't able to adapt, so so it's gonna be rather unconventional if we do get something. And I want to reiterate that this will just be the batteries, which are going to be very important for solar in town now and in the future, and this command and control system. But it won't be in this year, it won't be adding more solar to the grid. We still need feasibility studies for the landfill that we want to do and the CCHS rooftop. So it will just be batteries, command and control, and then we're hoping to, in our report as the task force, to outline next steps. We're hoping to say, okay, and here's the solar that also we want to come online in the short term, the medium term, and the long term. So a bit frustrating that all this is happening, but that's my update. And please pepper me with questions right now.
So have they removed the article from the regular town meeting?
Not officially yet. We're gonna decide on that Thursday.
So that would not propose to build any solar.
Yeah, it would not be proposed. We had made edits initially that were gonna be applied to our article originally, that it wasn't going to be, no solar was going to be installed this year because we still need feasibility studies from CMLP to be able to verify that the rooftop at CCHS can handle solar, and that would be okay, and also feasibility study that the landfill, if we were to build on a slope, is this possible? What would be, we still need time for that. We were a bit frustrated that despite having lots of time to do it, the feasibility studies didn't happen, they take a long time. So we're hoping to get those two shorter term projects on the next town warrant, and also explicitly outline in our report as a solar task force at the end, saying, here's an actionable report, here's what we think, and what we recommend that CMLP should do. So that's that, and then now for this special town meeting, which I've just learned is a thing over the course of this week. To reiterate, we want to install batteries to prevent solar saturation on the system, to save the busbar too, and also get these management systems to understand real time what's out there in the grid and better understand, better be able to control the system. So I can update you at the over email, because we won't meet before the town meeting. But I'll keep you updated on how this goes on Thursday and what the plan is. It's a bit unorthodox as far as I understand it. I know Eric's been on some of the communication, but I think this is sort of a crisis moment for CMLP, in that they want to keep the solar online and install any new solar in town, so that they need to install batteries as soon as possible. So we're hoping, we're likely as a solar task force to support that, but we're going to discuss it on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little challenging with the task force. So the article had to go in December. The task force had only been operating for 6 months at that point. And the intent, I think, was, or hope was that they would soon after that point, have been able to get more information on some of these specific sites that they were proposing for solar arrays, and then looking for funding. And obviously that hasn't materialized for a number of reasons. So yeah, this is kind of triage, if you will, to, rather than have no article at all, is to, hopefully be able to, seek some funding for the light plant to have battery storage, and have that battery storage in the most ideal location. Because I think when people think of the grid, they're worried about solar saturation, too much solar production coming on, but there's also that element of not, having enough energy on the grid, and that causing problems too. If the load gets too low, then that can damage the grid, damage elements of the grid, and that's a problem too. So being able to manage that in both directions.
I don't think it damages the grid. I think it just shuts down,
Well,
which is the problem.
Yeah, I'm not an electrical engineer, but I don't think that's good. That might be damage.
yeah, I mean, I thought it also jeopardized transformers and things like that, but I don't know. But anyway, it's just, so it's, hopefully this is some way to be able to still have some viable option of securing some funding to improve.
Right.
grid.
Yeah.
So Gavin, what you said about
Mhm.
the high school roof,
Mhm.
you had a consultant, or something to, design a system for the high school roof. Did they not, why do they need a separate feasibility study beyond that?
I think that, I'm not exactly sure which consultant you're talking about, but there had been studies of it and the school committee also needed to verify. There were a lot of different steps that we just couldn't get done before this town meeting, but we will hope to get done over the next, for the next town meeting.
So I'm curious, was there any consideration given to amending the existing warrant article in lieu of having a special town meeting?
As far as I understand, what Dean, who's the chair of the solar task force, had said is that we're barred from doing that because of just the regulations around it, and that we explicitly said an address for the solar and battery sites that we were looking at in there, so we can't change it to that extent. It would be like probably like sacrificing the integrity of what we wrote.
Yeah, once an article is submitted, you're fairly limited in terms of being able to change any of the original scope of it. So you couldn't just say, oh, well, we'll get rid of those specific solar sites and do this instead, or, you know, or we'll, you know, we want money for the battery, but then we'll put it in a different location than was specified originally in the article. So there's just limitations on how you can change the scope of the article itself, which prevented amending it significantly. So there's a lot of people involved in this discussion, and yeah, this seemed to be the path of least resistance that they came up with. So.
Yes, that's seeing as though the people will be gathered in attendance, the equipment will be there for a town meeting, it'll be like a special town meeting, maybe after the original town meeting to vote on
I'm
that.
not quite sure how the special town meeting works, but
I'm not
Mr.
sure.
Wendy mentioned that there's, a special town meeting within the town meeting, so it may, but I'm not sure, break up, when that article comes up, we will go into the special town meeting. And Wendy's online, maybe she can.
Yeah. I don't have the form in front of me. It's, but I do believe it's supposed to be on the 1st. So town meeting starts on what, Monday, the 29th? And I think they had slotted this for May 1st.
Okay, yeah, and yeah, and the town meeting might run over as well. So.
Yeah, that date, it's definitely gonna run at least 2 days. Someone asked if it was gonna run short and Carmen said no.
So the special town meeting would occur after the regular town meeting concludes? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the timeline right now that was handed out for the select board. It's gonna be May 1st at 7:10.
They still need to publish, what
Yep.
article you're gonna discuss at that town meeting a couple of weeks ahead of time.
So
It's
yeah,
already posted.
It's
There's
already
special
posted.
town meeting posted on, if you go to the Concord website and you go to the town meeting link,
Okay, got it.
and I think it already posted a special town meeting.
yeah,
link there.
the warrant opening, it closes on Friday, so.
Friday at noon, and the warrant will be mailed on the 9th to all citizens.
Right, so it's.
So they've got a whole timeline for the special town meeting published as well.
Yeah, so, and I want to make it clear that although this is a sort of like a big blip on the radar that's come up, the process for installing batteries is a good idea overall, and it works towards the goal of being able to install more solar in town. So even though we're gonna have to almost like jerry-rig this whole setup to solve this problem, but it helps us solve towards future problems as well of trying to install more solar in town, whether it's as a town or whether it's as residents being able to handle that from the system. So it's the process that we've seen over the course of the few months that I've been updating everyone on, but this is like a problem that we need to fix now.
So.
Yeah, I think that, I was gonna say, I think that's, I'm sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
Question, so as Brad pointed out, CMLP has been talking about the solar saturation issue for many years.
Mhm.
I never could remember which bus bar were they talking about in the past? Is that bus bar 1 or bus bar 2?
I'm not sure exactly. I think that,
In other words,
as
has,
yeah, as far as I understand it, that this, because the prison is being removed from one of them, so this one that, I think this bus bar 2 is the one that didn't have a problem before, but now it does.
that's what I'm getting at. I'm just wondering, is with the demise of MCI, does that now mean both of our circuits are saturated? Or does it just mean that the one the prison was on is in worse state than it used to be?
I was gonna ask on Thursday. I'm pretty sure it's both now, but I don't know if Wendy knows off the top of her head.
Yeah, mine
You know,
was-
Gavin, we knew that we had 2.5 megawatts that we could have installed up at the landfill before we got in trouble. So I think we were okay on bus bar 1 and it was 2 that was the issue. But we'll
Okay.
confirm on Thursday.
Yes, they need more memorable names rather than just one.
Yes, plus a
Yes.
graphic.
Yeah. And so to your point as well about maybe CMLP being a bit slow on this stuff, but yeah, I agree to some extent. In our report that we're doing as a solar task force, we're going to say explicitly, we recommend that CMLP does this, we recommend this. Some of the things we might recommend are, grid resilience, improving the system, some more grid modernization updates, such as I'm going to recommend using electric school buses as battery backups, using virtual power plant model, to be able to use like maybe battery in people's homes, EVs in people's homes. Sort of, we're recommending that CMLP look outside the box as well to solve this in maybe more cost-effective, non-wires alternative investments. So we're gonna be pretty strong about that.
And I know right now CMLP cannot upload electricity to the greater grid, but I think I heard they were talking about changing that so that they would be
Yeah,
able
that's
to.
correct. Doing that,
Yeah, it's what they refer to as the metering domain.
Mhm.
So but it's 2 years out, and that's the other reason for the urgency here.
Okay,
Yeah, because there's a lot of regulatory and different business things that they have to deal with to be able to send the power back and also financial upgrades, infrastructure upgrades needed to be able to go the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes, CMLP also doesn't, Jason's been doing a great job as interim.
Yeah.
Be a new head as well as CMLP, so it's a inflection point, I think, or a change. So we'll see. CMLP's been doing really great work and working really well with us as a solar task force. But I think what we want to see to be able to meet this climate emergency, we need to try to move a little bit faster, and that's what we're trying to do with the special town meeting.
Okay.
Mike, did you have any comment? Circle back to you.
No, I was just gonna echo your point that, putting batteries on the grid isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a very good thing. So just getting that conversation started and actually having a plan for that is I think is very positive. I just wonder if, and I hope that the battery storage is being looked at holistically, with, future potential needs for storage, and whether it be additional solar or virtual power plants with sending energy back into the grids from electric vehicles down the road, or any number of alternatives that are being looked at in the future, which are also going to require storage. So I'm hoping that CMLP is also looking at the storage issue holistically, and not just in terms of, the next couple of years of solar installations.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll include in our report definitely to look at those types of things and urgency around them. And we'll have public comment at the end, just as a reminder. So gonna keep us moving. First time as chair, not doing so well on timing, so we're gonna keep going. Courtney, do you have any relatively quick updates on the metrics we're reporting? Anything on that? for the initiatives?
I can, given the time, I can share quickly. I put together a couple of slides. See if I can do this fast.
Yeah, we can also, I'll give some more time to review next meeting as well, if you need extra time.
That's fine. Let's see here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
Yes,
Okay. All right. So just four slides. I think this one is in Brad's update. So you saw that. You know, just high level, what we've done is we took the 2019 footprint as the baseline using MAPC's tool that was used before, and work to update the input data from a combination of sources within town, National Grid, using the Massachusetts Vehicle Database, which is actually a new source of data for us, but seemed like it kind of made sense, you know, and wasn't dramatically different. So that I guess made us feel really confident that it was good data to use. It's based on vehicle registration data. There's a few items that still need to be updated, but they're not large components of the footprint. So we felt okay to, you know, publish this preliminarily. I think there's a couple of things we're still waiting on from the town related to waste data. But you can see even from this graph that the, you know, the waste estimates, the footprint for waste is pretty small in relation to everything else. And then there's a few pieces of the footprint that probably won't get updated. They're based on currently some information from MAPC's tool using a baseline of 2017. And so it's a little bit older, and we understand that MAPC is looking to update that, but it might be a year or so yet before that happens. But again, there's smaller pieces of the overall pie, and so we felt okay to go ahead and update with the town-specific data that we had. So this just shows you from 2008 to 2022, and the 2 years that this was done in between, where we're at. The blue bars are building, mostly our building energy. The green is transportation. The small blue is waste. Just showing a breakdown. I don't have comparison pie charts for the other years. We may get there, but for now, this just shows a breakdown of the 2022 footprint. And so, you know, as I mentioned, residential buildings, those are homes, right? 32% are commercial buildings, you know, nearly 30. Municipal buildings, a pretty small piece of the pie, and then vehicles. Those are our big footprint components. And then some of these other items in here, they are part of the footprint, but smaller. Of course, altogether they make up about can't do the math, maybe 12%. And so, and some of those are the ones that are based on data that is not as Concord specific, I'll say. It's more general baseline information. But we've talked all night about how this component, residential buildings, is a big nut to crack going forward. And I think, you know, vehicles are also, you know, two big components that we need to continue to beat the drum on. Sorry, this one's really hard to see, but this is a breakdown of the emissions by fuel type. So this blue bar here is our natural gas for commercial and mostly commercial buildings. This is our residential natural gas. And then, let's see, this is our fuel oil, and the yellow is our fuel oil for commercial, residential, commercial. And then this really small sliver in here is our electricity. And I think in Brad's update, you know, he talked a bit about how, you know, CMLP has worked towards non-emitting sources, and that's really bringing that electricity footprint to almost, you know, nothing. So we just need to get all of these folks onto our grid somehow. And then the last one, this just shows our emissions by fuel type or type of energy. So, you know, probably no surprise, natural gas is our biggest component, with fuel oil a close second. Actually, maybe not, about half of the natural gas. So that's all I have. I mean, that's our data to date. You know, what may be coming, and I have to talk with Eric about how he wants to do the update on specifically the greenhouse gas footprint. Yeah, I think that is probably part of the reporting that we need to do as part of the climate action plan. So there may be a few more pieces of data that we try to highlight, or graphs that we try to show related to some of the specific data that goes behind the footprint. So less about the footprint and more about, you know, how we're coming on heat pumps, for instance. Gavin, you brought that up earlier. So.
Thanks for working on that, Courtney. I think having this as a baseline update to the climate action plan is really great to see change over time from 2020 at least. And yeah, it's really key to our work. So thanks for working on that. It's interesting. This graph is interesting with the transportation has remained pretty stubborn, actually, even though it's smaller than stationary.
Yeah. We have made strides. With, you know, EVs for sure, but it's at a slower rate than we probably need to see. So.
Okay, thanks for presenting, Courtney. I'm gonna keep us moving here. Take us home. Skipping through the section 8 here. Does anybody have a quick comment on the climate vulnerability assessment?
The MEP program, which is where I think we would be trying to look for funding on that, is sort of shifted the goalposts again. The MVP 2.0 program, which they had announced for this spring, they just recently announced they're pushing that back to the fall, and that's something that we have to go through to continue to be eligible for other action grants and funding. So I'm continuing to pursue that for the fall, and that's where we have to go through the sort of 2-year process of building social resilience in the town. So we can apply in parallel with that, but we have to be actively doing that at least to be eligible to move forward. But yeah, that's shifted a little bit. And Courtney and Paul and I had some conversations a little while ago that we probably need to revisit in terms of refining a focus for trying to pursue some funds for some priority components of the vulnerability assessment. And I'm hoping that whatever we do for the MVP 2.0 process, looking at the social resilience, that we can, at the end of that process, they give you $50,000 to kind of do a pilot project around social resilience. And so whatever that is, I would like that to be supporting whatever we're hoping to be pursuing in parallel for other funding, and kind of have those dovetail. So I think we'll just need to continue our conversations on that, with identifying.
Yeah, how many projects do you have in your quick plan? Do you think you have that people are recommending or across your desk?
For the vulnerability assessment, or
the company.
Well, we talked about focusing on flooding and hydrological studies as one potential pathway, and then we had also, I think, a little more recently talked about you know, potentially looking or maybe focusing on drought as a vulnerability in terms of drinking water, water quality, and, you know, agriculture and different elements of the community that are impacted by droughts, since we've seen droughts increasing as well. So, I mean, everybody thinks of flooding right away, which obviously is a huge concern and vulnerability for Concord, but there's also the flip side of that, which is the drought too.
Or maybe for some of the farming community, maybe the early frosts as well. I don't know if that come up.
Yeah, so, yeah, so we need to talk a little bit more about that, and certainly welcome any other thoughts and input on that.
All right, keep us moving here. I put on the agenda new business / initiatives. If anybody, I put on here a few ideas. If anybody has a new initiative they want to work on, I'm going to recommend maybe the next meeting if you want to talk about it, or think about if you want to get some more momentum going on something that I'm thinking a lot about. With my experience in the solar task force and with CMLP, is maybe trying to get a little working group together on the electric school bus type work, to be able to get relevant stakeholders like the school committee and CMLP together. So if you have any ideas about that, or something you want to work on, bring that to the next committee, or if you want to workshop an idea, I think that would be great, just to make sure that we're trying to think about how do we keep coming up with new ideas and new initiatives as a committee, rather than just copying and pasting some of what we do. So keep that in mind for next meeting. And Jerry, I also had my notes about the Concord Route 2 letter situation. I had a few comments that I was thinking, so I don't know if you had a chance to work on it.
I have not had a chance to work on it, so I dropped the ball on that, but
No worries.
if you have some ideas, send them over
Okay.
and I'll work them in.
Okay, yeah, so I'll put some maybe time on for next meeting for in this bucket of new business type work.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so that's it, unless anybody else has anything from the committee before we go to public comment. Okay, we're 10 minutes behind. I'm okay with that as a margin of error for my first time. I'll keep getting better at it. All right, we open up for public comment. If anybody has public comment, feel free to come up and either raise your hand.
I think that's just the cursor.
Yeah, just the cursor. She might have had a question earlier,
Oh,
so.
you're right. Well, now they've got her hand up.
Feel free to comment, Pamela.
Hi, thank you, Pamela Dritt, 13 Concord Green. I really appreciate your idea of looking at the whole energy system for Concord more holistically, aiming at aiming at what we want to end up with, which is town-generated green energy in a distributed grid that is all electric for everything. And can we? So your idea about the electric school buses as part of a battery backup system for various grid balancing things too. Holistically, I thought that was wonderful. I'm sorry, there's echo. I don't.
Oh, sorry, we can hear you okay in here, so.
All right. I think CMLP is looking a little short term and not long term. So I appreciate that you are doing that, and the Solar Implementation Task Force is doing that. For example, I think we're relying too much on outside consultants that aren't up to date in the latest creative solutions, and that results in the town's new 2 fast chargers are unusable by Teslas, which is the majority of battery electric vehicles, which can fast charge. And they're restricted from changing that for a year. And I don't understand how that got chosen as an option.
You should talk to CMLP about that.
Is that on Main Street here in Concord Center?
No, it's in,
That's a right out.
Right.
Right out. I went and checked them out. And they thought they were chargeable with Teslas. Because that's what they said at the light board meeting, but it isn't.
Okay,
And
thanks for bringing that.
Out.
We'll into that.
And I forgot what the other thing I was going to say, so
Okay.
thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
I did remember. I want to encourage CMLP and us to leverage our funds to invest in projects like supporting residential solar installations and battery installations as probably a better bang for our buck for the money that we're collecting to purchase RECs. In other words, we get more solar energy, more energy, leveraging it to encourage residences to install solar rooftop and battery backup than buying battery systems, except for school buses, for the town.
Well, I'm gonna cut you up here for the sake of time, but thank you very much, Pamela, for attending as usual. I appreciate your feedback. Okay, all right, no other comments that I see on there. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn, but I don't think we need a motion. I'll just adjourn.
let's do it.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending in person and virtual.